In today's video, we are talking once more to Alan Graves, the CEO and co-founder of DoNotAge. DoNotAge is a research organization and supplement company whose supplements I know many of you take, and so do I, and so does Sam actually. Alan has some really exciting news about some new studies DoNotAge is conducting as well as funding, and about some new supplements DoNotAge started to offer. So without further ado, let's talk to Alan. It's great to have you back, Alan.
It's good to see you, Claudia.
Now, you guys have been busy at DoNotAge. You're conducting and funding all kinds of really cool and interesting studies. But before we talk about some of those studies, I want to briefly talk to you about the state of Enmen, because my viewers have been asking. So we know that quite a while ago now, the FDA has been trying to ban the sale of Enmen in the United States. Do you have any news on that by any chance?
Yeah, so there's no news. The message is the same from DoNotAge.org that it's been since November of 2022 when this first happened, which is don't panic, nothing's going to change. The only way that we lose this battle is if the FDA changes its own rules. So eventually we'll have the same result as NAC, which is where they drop everything and stop being so silly, shall we say. But yeah, so there's nothing new from the last time we spoke. But again, the message wouldn't have changed anyway, which is don't panic. You don't need to panic buy. You don't need to buy 10 years worth of Enmen. It's still going to be available. And again, I will personally guarantee that DoNotAge.org will always provide a comprehensive NAD booster for everyone, whatever happens.
I'm glad to hear that. And I know so are quite a few of my subscribers, because that is the one supplement I get the most feedback on from so many people who have long-term COVID, who have chronic fatigue, who have, all kinds of different ailments, or even just aging, which is a disease, unfortunately. That's really the one supplement I get the most positive feedback on. And it's, that's my desert island supplement. So I'm glad to hear that. But let's keep talking about Enmen. I know you guys funded a study. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, but the one that we've briefly mentioned when we spoke before recording is the study in bumblebees. So essentially, we all consume it's actually an insecticide, but it's easier to say pesticide. That is called imidacloprid. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's something that every single one of us consumes because it's very widely used. It's very, very good at killing insects. But of course, there are some negative effects on the body as well. We know there's some pretty bad ones for bumblebees. And the theory is that Enmen will be able to alleviate those issues. And we're going to prove that by taking bumblebees and doing a test. The study's already underway. So it's DoNotAge.org, pure Enmen, and some bumblebees. And then we're giving them various different tests before and after using Enmen. And they've obviously all been given imidacloprid, which is the sort of pesticide, if you will. And the idea being that if it does protect the bumblebees as we think, we would then move to another human trial with Enmen, this time to see if it protects the human body against these pesticides as well.
Is it a placebo-controlled trial, or you're just giving all the bees Enmen?
Yeah. So it's a placebo-controlled trial. So there'll be a placebo group that just gets sugar water, and then there'll be a group that gets sugar water infused with Enmen as well.
And how long is this trial going to go on for?
So we expect the trial to last another 4 months. And then, of course, you have to then get it published and get it peer reviewed. The good thing about the fact that we're so directly involved with it and using our Enmen is that it means we get the results first. So we'll email out the results as soon as we have them. And then before it gets published in the actual journal, it will need to be peer reviewed.
So is this something that could save the bees? We just give them all Enmen?
Exactly. And we're quietly confident about it. But this is the cool thing about being a research organization is we have a theory on something, and then we say, all right, well, let's put the resources to it and test it out.
That is what I so much appreciate about your company is you don't just sell supplements. You are a research company first and a supplement company second. And you don't just sell stuff that, you could be selling a lot more stuff and just make something up, but you just sell things that really are backed by science. And I really appreciate that. I can't tell you how many supplement companies approach me almost on a daily basis. Do you want to work with us? And I'm like, nope, I'm happy with DoNotAge because I really love what you guys stand for. like I said, the research you put behind your products is pretty incredible.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And we'll only work with the people that we believe are doing it for the right reasons as well, which is why we've worked with you for such a long time. That's also the reason why we structure it the way we do, because you'll probably be able to attest to the fact that the other the sort of traditional supplement companies that have reached out to you may have said, "Here's $X,000," or we'll give you this 25%, or some crazy numbers. And the reason they do that is because the average supplement company spends around 50% of their revenue on marketing, which is crazy. Some spend more, some spend a little bit less, but it's around 50%. And yet, that figure for us is what we spend on research. So rather than spending on marketing, we spend it on research. And we believe it's then a win-win for everyone, because it gives us longevity as well. Pardon the pun, it gives us longevity in terms of we only want to work with people that are doing it for the right reasons, and that we can work with for the long term. So rather than just, oh, we've got a new product coming, let's pay some people to say that it's good. We already know that it's good by the time we launch it, because we've done the research behind it. And what people don't see is for every product we launch, there's 20 that we were like, oh, this could be great, and then it fails miserably. And we don't see the benefits in humans that we want, and so we don't launch that product.
Yeah, humans and pets. I have Sam on your pet supplement, and I swear by it. She obviously, she doesn't know she thinks it's a treat, but I've seen such a difference. She's going to be 15 in September, and I've seen such a difference having on that pet supplement. She's been on it ever since you guys started it. Before I gave her some Enmen powder, which she wasn't crazy about because of the taste. But you're not just helping us to stay healthy and live longer, but also our pets, which many of us really appreciate.
And that's a sign of the size of the organization, because at first we were led by the scientists purely, and then after a period, when you reach a certain size, you can then also take into account your members, because ultimately we wouldn't be anywhere without our members. We don't fund any of this research ourselves, really. It's all coming from people's hard-earned money that they spend on our test kits and supplements, and then that money is the money we use for the research. And so we see our members as a part of the team as well. And when about 30% of your members are all messaging you saying, how can I get my dog to take NMN? We at first we kind of ignored it a little bit, because didn't ignore, obviously we responded to their emails, but we didn't change what we were doing, because we're always focused on humans. But after a while, we just saw some really crazy stuff of people pouring it in dog food, wrapping it in chews, and all this, trying to get their dogs and cats, to take it. And most of them were really struggling. And so we said, well, look, we've got the infrastructure to be able to do some tests for dogs and cats. And so we did that. And now we have Pure Pet for dog and Pure Pet for cats. And as you mentioned, it's very, very popular. And one of the really good things is humans will sometimes forget to take their supplements, and your dog won't let you forget to give them Pure Pet, because they love the treat.
That's true. And in turn, when our pets are healthy, that makes us live longer as well. So it's a double whammy. So,
Yes.
It's helping our longevity, just keeping our animals healthy. Now, let's keep talking about the science. You said you had some news from Dr. Gorbanova, who is on your staff. Tell us you had a long conversation with her about the CERT6 trial.
Yeah, so it was pretty in-depth. I think we're probably going to end up uploading the full, like, Dr. Gorbanova doesn't have time to do, interviews all over the web, because she's in the lab, which is where we want her to be, which is great. And so I speak to her all the time, but every 6 months or so, I'll have a bit of a sort of a recorded conversation with her. And I think this time we're gonna start from now to put them on our YouTube page, just so if people are interested, they can listen to the science. Obviously, she goes a lot deeper than I do. And there's still a subsection of people that want to listen to the scientists from the horse's mouth. So we spoke pretty in depth and discussed the CERT6 mouse study. And for those that don't know, shows like a really large increase in healthy lifespan. I know that, Claudia, we spoke about this before last time we spoke, but for those that don't know, and it came through reducing inflammation. We have some human studies underway, and the really good thing is that we agreed on the call to do another human study alongside Dr. Andrea Meyer, who is from the Healthy Longevity Medicine Society. And she's not just from it, but she's the president of it and close friends with Dr. Gorbanova. So yeah, we've just funded that. They've put some money in, we've put some money in, and of course we're providing the CERT6 activator as well. So that's another human trial. And this one will actually, because it's a little bit shorter, will be finished before the first one. So we expect those results within a few years.
Now, the mouse study, you sent me a picture of two sisters, correct? Is that from the CERT6 trial?
No, so we do have, I mean, I can send you the pictures of the mice from the CERT6 trial, but we had that data about 6 months ago. The picture that I sent you today was of the mice that are sisters from the IL-11 study. So this is one that we've been writing about. It's not one that we were directly involved with. Basically, what they did is they took mice, had a control group, and then had a group where they knocked out IL-11, which is interleukin 11. It's basically an inflammatory factor. And again, they showed a large increase in healthy lifespan when it was inhibited. And we already have some products that are known for inhibiting IL-11. So we made a bundle called the IL-11 inhibitor bundle just to make it easier for people. There's 3 products in there: quercetin, berberine, and sulforaboost. We believe CERT6 activator will probably also be involved with IL-11, but because it's so new, there's no data on that yet. So we didn't include it in the bundle just in case. And yeah, so the mouse image I sent you today is from that.
So they are sisters, and one is obviously much older looking than the other one. Biological age is much younger than the other one. So that's quite impressive.
Yeah. So the reason we included those is because quercetin we know that it is an anti-inflammatory. It also has anti-fibrotic properties, and it can inhibit the activation of STAT3, which is like a key pathway in that IL-11 signaling that we spoke about. And then you've got berberine, also anti-inflammatory, and that has the ability to inhibit sort of various different cytokines and signaling pathways, which also impacts IL-11. And then sulforaphane, which is known for, again, being an anti-inflammatory, because, you'll see a theme here. Of course, its ability to inhibit the activation of various different pathways, more STAT pathways, and things that are involved with IL-11. And so they're the 3 that we chose. Again, we've got more than just a hunch that CERT6 activator would also help, but we don't have data on that yet, so we haven't included it in the bundle.
It's so interesting being back in the United States. When I watch television, the commercials are all about medicine. And there is one right now for psoriasis, and it says, will inhibit IL-11. So that's interesting that you came up with a natural solution versus this is obviously a medicine people have to take for the rest of their life. And the side effects it's like, why would anybody want to take that? Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Exactly. There may be a benefit, but there'll definitely be these downsides. And yeah, the way that it works in America, and to be fair, in most Western countries is pretty crazy. I think it was probably set up with good intention and has now been abused, far past where it should be. Because if even half of the benefits from the IL inhibitor group from mice are represented again in humans, then it's huge. I mean, I'll try to remember some of them. They had longer telomeres. There was more muscle, better cholesterol, increased fertility scores, better glucose tolerance, better hair, fur, increased strength. They had more brown fat, so the good fat. I think it was healthier mitochondria, no metabolic disease. So there was a list as long as your arm about the advantages of having this inflammatory cytokine removed from the body. So yeah, again, I think it speaks volumes, and it adds to the breadth of information we've already got on the fact that inflammaging is real.
Is this something you're planning on also studying or testing on humans, this little package, to see if you get the same results as in the mice?
Yes, but first we're going to wait for the first CERT6 human trial to finish, because then we know, I shouldn't say that. We don't know, but we're very confident that CERT6 will also play a very important role on IL-11 and other inflammatory factors as well. So we're going to wait for that first and then add it in to the bundle, I think, before we do the clinical trial.
That's super exciting. Especially, again, you see all these medications, this one I just mentioned for psoriasis is not the only one I keep getting in my advertising feed. There are all kinds of different ones that work on autoimmune diseases, and they're all immune suppressants, so they're targeting the immune system, suppressing it, so that people don't have this inflammation and these inflammatory diseases. And by the way, we have to tell people, you're not drinking whiskey. That looks like whiskey, but it is a water bottle.
It's Highland spring water, I promise.
So it is really promising to see that there are natural approaches you can take rather than taking these immune suppressants that then affect so many other things.
Exactly, and this is part of the reason why natural supplements are so powerful and popular, and why we like them and we tend to prefer them, is because we only provide something if it doesn't have a potential downside for people. We don't want any contraindications or anything like that. Whereas with drugs, because the way it's set up, they will say, right, we are setting out to solve this problem. And then by solving this problem the way they do it, they create 8 problems elsewhere. And that's absolutely fine because, well, we solved the problem. And so, yeah, it's for us, it's not a good way to do it, but that's the current system, isn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately. But that brings me to a question I had recently from a subscriber. I mentioned in a video that I started taking your spermidine, and it is synthetic spermidine. And the question was, because most spermidine supplements are made from wheat germ, which many of us can't use because of gluten sensitivity. But the subscriber was asking, are there any adverse effects or side effects from taking a synthetic spermidine? And I told her, I don't think DoNotAge would sell it if there was, but I'll ask you anyways.
The umbrella response to that is, if there was any negativity to it, we wouldn't do it. To give an example before I dive into spermidine, it's resveratrol. When we first provided resveratrol back in 2019, we used to get it from a natural source, and the maximum purity you can get is 98%. And so we had 98% pure resveratrol, and we saw great results.
Mhm.
Then we're always constantly looking at updating and improving things, and so we looked at synthetic resveratrol. We actually at the time were, I think, biased, and so we didn't believe the synthetic would be any better. But of course, you can get synthetic resveratrol purer, and so ultimately, it's the same molecule as the same molecule. So the purer it is, the better. And the synthetic resveratrol was superior, and so we now use synthetic resveratrol. And so, same thing with spermidine. The other advantage, obviously, with the spermidine was we can now make it gluten free, and gluten. There's an argument that gluten isn't really for any human, but certainly there's a lot that are intolerant to it. So once we made that synthetic, it just opened it up to a lot more people. And the mission is, and always will be, to extend healthy lifespan for as many people as possible. So if we can do that for more people, we will.
Do you have any studies by any chance on your spermidine?
No, so we have sort of small scale trials, but they're not placebo controlled, and there's not that many participants, so it's not something we would publish. So we don't have any studies at the moment, and I don't think there's any coming up either with the spermidine. So there's not going to be anything in the next 12 months or so, but as you know, things can always change.
Yeah, I've had two guests on recently who really stressed the importance of spermidine for longevity, which made me go out and get some from you guys because it made a lot of sense. Obviously, it's found in food, but it's in food like wheat germ or tempeh, which is kind of an acquired taste. It's not something I enjoy that much. So it is just easier sometimes to take it, even though I think we should strive to get the majority of our nutrients from real food. Sometimes it is easier to supplement, and sometimes we can't get it all from real food.
Exactly. So with your Enmen, your Cert6, resveratrol, it's not possible to get enough of those from food without, dying of eating too many grapes or drinking too much red wine or whatever, right? But with certain things are on the edge. So apigenin, eating, I think it's dried parsley. If you eat like this huge bowl of dried parsley every day, you can get enough apigenin. But the reality is, who's going to do that? Who wants to do that? How sustainable is that? And so, we didn't launch the apigenin until a few months after we were going to, because of that sort of fight in our head of, well, if you can do it, maybe we shouldn't encourage people to just supplement. But in the end, no one's going to do that. Nobody wants to do that, right? You don't want to live a life where you have to eat. If it's just one little piece of food, it's not the end of the world. But a huge bowl of dry parsley every day doesn't sound too much fun. And it's the same with spermidine. The reality is that most of us get a couple of milligrams a day at most, and that's not really enough to make a difference.
And I hear the recommended dose for longevity is 20 milligrams a day, so that's quite a bit.
2 capsules of ours would be, 16 milligrams, if I'm not mistaken. And like I said, the vast majority of us get a few milligrams from diet, so that'll bring you up to about your 20 milligrams. And of course, if you want to, you can always take the extra capsule as well. I only take two every day. I find that's enough for me.
Well, you're just a spring chicken. Some of us need a little more.
You
Now,
look better than me.
thank you. Since we are talking about supplements, you mentioned you have a new supplement coming out, a couple new ones even.
That's right. I mean, we're always, like I say, we're always working on them, and the vast majority of them, unfortunately, don't come out. And some of them get me really excited. And then, somebody in a white lab coat, much smarter than me, comes and gives me some bad news. Um, but yeah, one of the ones, again, this is originally started from our members. So thank you, everybody, is a probiotic. So this not just helps your health directly as a probiotic, but also, how you absorb supplements is through the gut, and you can't have a healthy gut without healthy, So it contains B12 and let me get the pronunciation right, lactobacillus, I think it's pronounced.
Mhm.
And yeah, again, some people that are far smarter than me have been working on that. They said it was extremely difficult because again, we can't launch something unless we can increase the effectiveness of what's already on the market. And there's a lot of probiotics. So whenever there's a crowded market, it always makes it difficult for us. But I personally prefer that. One, because I'm not the one doing the science and the research. And two, because it means that we can be uber confident when we go to market and try and get it out to as many people as we can. And we've kept it extremely affordable. It's around about $24 for a month's supply. And of course, it's then cheaper if you subscribe and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so it's lactobacillus. Is it made from dairy or is it dairy free? Do you know?
I don't because I wasn't involved in this one in terms of the making of it, but my guess would be that it is dairy free.
Okay, so suitable for vegans or people with a lactose intolerance.
Yeah,
Okay.
so wherever it's possible, we always make it that way. Like I say, sometimes there are very, very few, but there are some products where it's impossible at the moment. But yeah, wherever it's possible, we always make it vegan friendly because if someone eats meat, they can still have things that are vegan friendly. Whereas if you're a vegan, you can't have things that contain animal products. So
Now, the probiotic, is it shelf stable? I'm assuming you wouldn't sell it otherwise because sometimes we hear it has to be
yeah,
refrigerated and all of that. It is.
yeah, it's shelf stable. It's shelf stable.
Okay. Any other new supplements you're coming out with?
None that I'm allowed to talk about. I've got in trouble with this before where I've mentioned something and then the sort of last test we've done has flopped. And then I've had to sort of go back and say, oh, we're not launching that now. And then you end up with a lot of people complaining, say, where is it? We say, well, it doesn't actually work. So we're not going to provide it. So yeah, none that I'm allowed to say, unfortunately. But the probiotic is available to order. So,
Okay.
for anybody looking to improve their gut health.
What's if you would sum it up, the most, what's the word I'm looking for? The most requested supplement for you guys to come out with from your members. What is that?
The Pure Pet by a long way. I
Okay.
mean, and I don't know if that's just because people love their pet so much or just because they got so frustrated at opening capsules of Enmen and Cert6 activator and pouring it in dog food and things like that. So yeah, it was definitely the Pure Pet, 100%.
Well, I think if we wouldn't love our pets so much, we wouldn't go through that trouble of opening it up. And so I think that is
Yeah.
what it is. Yeah, because
Well,
it's
they're
so, I
part of
mean,
the family, aren't they?
oh yeah, and it's so challenging. I told you Sam is going to be 15 in September. She's doing amazing, but it's so heartbreaking to see them age and that they're not aging the same way as us. So whatever we can do to extend their lifespan, healthy lifespan, I think we're going to do for them.
And they're so innocent. They just,
I know.
you know, they're just amazing. I love dogs. I love dogs so much.
I was thinking about that the other day with Sam. She loved me from the first second she saw me, and she has never wavered on that over 15 years. I've had her since she was 3 months old. And you don't get that with a person. I mean, obviously my husband loves me, but it's different. I'll get on his nerves, or, it's not like a dog. It's unconditional. We'll give them whatever we can. Now, we are obviously very excited about all the trials, but it's going to be a while on any of them. The Bumblebee one, the human trial for Cert6 activity, that's going to be a while. Do you have any other
Yeah, that's
trials
right.
any other trials in your head that you would like to conduct?
Yeah, ones that we've not started yet. There's a few. I don't know if I should talk about them, but they contain other products, so not NMN or Cert6 related. We want to make sure that everything's getting the attention it desires. We could have something incredible on our hands and not realize it. So, and we've already got Cert 6 in the human cancer trial, which is obviously really, really big. Yeah, we're looking further afield now. If there are any more researchers and scientists watching, please get in touch. We have plenty of product and lots of ideas, and we're running out of lab space, because we've got all these human trials and mouse trials and bumblebee trials and everything going on all over the world. So, yeah, the more people we can collaborate with, the better. Where we want to be in 20 years is averaging 150 for an average age of passing, and with an absolute plethora of data behind us. Because every time we do a study, even if it's a failure, there's always some learnings in it, and that one leads into the next study and the next study. And it's basically a really long game of trial and error.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, before we wrap this up, the question I get so often from my viewers, and let's break this into a couple different categories. If somebody wants to just extend healthy lifespan, just feel better as they're aging, hopefully avoid some disease, what would be a few supplements you would suggest for them?
I think the starter pack still serves. There's a reason we've kept it around now for over a year. It's all the most popular supplements. So it's your Sulfura Boost, your Cert 6 Activator, Enmen, TMG, resveratrol, and quercetin, I believe. That it's the most popular 6 that we have. It used to be you could only buy it in a 6-month pack, and we would still recommend that if you can afford it. If you can't afford that, you just want to buy a 1-month supply, we've now provided that as well. So hopefully that makes it a bit more attainable for people. But I don't know if they will be if they're watching your channel. But one thing I should say is if somebody wants to extend their healthy lifespan, make sure your sleep is on point. Make sure you're getting good quality sleep. Make sure you're moving your body every day. We weren't designed to be sedentary. We weren't designed to sit down. Yeah, I may be preaching to the choir here, but if there's someone out there listening, if even one person's listening and they're not getting enough exercise, then hopefully this is the kick up the backside they need to get moving, because that's like the most important thing you can do. If you're not moving, there's no point taking the supplements and doing anything else, because you got to move your body. You got to start with the basics.
And even though you're taking the supplements, you still need to eat a whole foods diet, avoid as much junk as possible.
From a diet perspective, whether it's carnivore, vegan, whatever, the most important thing that I can see from the data is unprocessed foods. So foods that have not been processed. I think it's the American diet is around about 60% ultra processed foods now. So not even just processed foods, ultra processed foods, which is just so bad. I can't begin to explain. If it doesn't grow or moo, then I would avoid it.
But so, okay, if somebody wants to extend healthy lifespan, the starter packet is a good idea. Somebody with, and this unfortunately happens quite frequently now, let's say long COVID or even autoimmune diseases, what would you suggest?
I think pretty much everything that we provide is going to help in some way for both of those. But the one that I've actually seen make the biggest difference is NMN. So, for things like long COVID, again, I have to say this is not medical advice, but from what our members have told me, those with long COVID and those with autoimmune diseases, they have found that high doses of NMN have been very, very effective at alleviating their symptoms, at least.
It's what I've heard too from my subscribers. That's great to know. I'm really excited to hear about the results of all those studies you guys have going. Is there anything else you would like to add?
Just a huge thank you to all of your audience, and a massive thank you to you as well, Claudia. You know how we operate here. We rely on people like yourself to, spread the word and talk about what we're doing, and to attract those people that appreciate what we're doing and put it back into the research. And I think you do a great job of that. And I just want to thank you for being a great partner with us. I really, really appreciate it. And if anyone has any questions, maybe they can drop them in the comments, and you can send them over to me, Claudia, and I'll get back to them as soon as I can.
I will do that. And thank you so much for making such incredible supplements. I mean, I'm quite picky about what I put in my body. I wouldn't just put anything in my body. And half of my supplement cabinet, if not more than half, is full of DoNotAge supplements. So that means something, definitely. And I wouldn't give something to Sam if I wasn't 100% sure that, it's pure and it's good for her. So thank you so much for making these incredible supplements and for keeping up with the science and the studies behind it. That is something I so appreciate.
Thank you, Claudia, and thank you, everyone.